Hey guys, it's John, your Tennessee flying farmer. I'm actually out here pretty early this morning. I'm gonna try to get just a little bit of progress done before I go down to the farm and get going with some cattle feeding and that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're on day 18 now, I believe, and I am going to try my best to get these doors wrapped up. I know I won't get totally done with them today, but I very much intend to get those brackets put in there like we talked about on both doors. I haven't got that done yet, but I've pondered on that and of course was exhausted but stayed awake thinking about it some last night. So I'm gonna work on that and I'm gonna try to get some of the final trimming done on those corners and edges like I showed you yesterday. I also have a question and answer on this afterward because of one of my eagle-eyed viewers that sent me a message. It was from when I was talking about the single seat 701 and I showed this picture of the controls for the Super Duty. Let you guys ponder on that for a second. Do you see anything unusual there that's noteworthy of talking about? We'll catch it here in a little bit.
This guy's good.
Now, here's our farmer, John Homebred.
Look at that! Oh my God!
That was good.
Whoa!
Making pretty good progress, and I'm determined to have you guys some better content than what I've been able to have time to make the last couple of videos. So anyway, I've managed to get all of these little gussets or angle pieces in these doors. Each corner, all those are drilled and in there. One thing I'm sitting here looking at with this door is these square tubes. It's just aluminum square tube. It's pretty simple, really. But my thought on this is, these are open at the bottom. The top one's open across and there's not really a low point. The front one is open at the bottom. But this bottom tube comes down and goes back up. So it has a high point at both ends and a low point here, probably at this joint. I'm kind of thinking I may drill a small weep hole in the bottom of that just so moisture water could get out. I don't know that that's ever been an issue, and there may be enough airflow going through it when you're flying to kind of keep that tube dried out. But if that were to get full of water and the water wasn't able to get out and it froze, it would swell this tube up, and I could see where that would cause trouble. So anyway, I'm thinking about, and I probably will, it may not be a very big hole, but I think I'm gonna drill a small weep hole at the bottom of that just so I can be sure I won't ever have any problem with that freezing and swelling or freezing, cracking, busting, or any of that kind of stuff. I'm gonna give you another little trick on getting these stickers off. What I found works really well anyway. Just get cheap brake cleaner. That's the easiest I found, just in an aerosol can. The best thing to do is just soak the sticker, and one can will pretty much do an entire airplane. It might possibly take two, but just soak the sticker kind of like that. Lay a piece on top of it. If you can lay a piece on top of it, that works absolute best, but just lay a piece on it, walk away. These stickers are a pretty common complaint when it's wrapped around a tube like this. Well, the common complaint is that people have a hard time getting them off, and they leave pieces of the paper sticker and residue, and it's sticky, and you have to use paint thinner or something, all kinds of trouble sometimes getting them off. If it's wrapped around a tube like this, I use the same brake cleaner, but what I'll do is I'll soak it, walk away, let it dry good, then I'll soak it again. 2 times usually gets it. Sometimes if it acts like if I start to peel it and it acts like it's going to be trouble, I'll soak it a 3rd time and wait till it almost dries and then try it, and it'll just come right off. So that's what I did on this other piece. The one I sandwiched together, I put brake cleaner on it. I put the other piece on top of it and I walked away, and it's been over 5 minutes. You can see since it's had that piece on there, it's still a little wet, but 5 minutes. You should be able to, and sometimes I'll walk away from these and actually forget about them. I'll come back when they're dry and they'll peel right off easily. You can see if you just give it 5 minutes and come back and do it, it'll peel off. There's no residue. It is not sticky at all. So that's the best way I've found to do that. And if you come back and it leaves some kind of residue from the sticker, or the sticker starts to peel and leave pieces of the paper, wet it and walk away again. Guys, if it's leaving pieces of the residue and that kind of stuff, it's not, you got to be patient there. Patience is your friend for sure on that. Give it a little bit of brake cleaner, walk away. You'll learn the timing. You can go do something else while you're messing with it. Like for instance, while I was waiting on this one, I got another pair of these and was cleaning up the edges of them and getting the corners around it, and these edges here that you'll be able to kind of feel or see in between the door when it's open and closed. You can still see that curve because it's exposed. I wanted to get that edge not sharp, so if someone touches it, it won't be, they won't be as apt to get cut or something. So you can always find something to do while you're waiting on it. But long story short, spray it with brake cleaner, walk away. Okay guys, I've run out of time. I didn't get my door put back together and I haven't got everything totally cleaned up yet, but I want to show you sort of what it is. This is totally all personal preference, but I like getting the corners all rounded off smoother even than what, they're CNC cut with a rounded edge, but I like to have them cut even more round. So when it's mounted up there, you can see the holes are lined up. And of course, my dust pile, my aluminum dust is getting up to, quite a few grams at this point just with these pieces. Saving weight, but at the same time, I just want it to have a really clean look. These airplanes are kind of known for having the square edges anyway. So in my opinion, anything you can do to round things up and make them look nicer, give them sort of a finished look, it's absolutely not necessary at all. It's not going to improve really anything by taking the time to do that. But anyway, next time I'm out here, I will try my best to go ahead and get the rest of that done, mocked back up, clecoed up. Got all the parts sort of laid out there, and most of them are cleaned up and ready to go back together. I still like getting the bracket off the front corner and getting it trimmed to the rounded edge. But other than that, yeah. Thank you guys so much for the likes, comments. Please share if you enjoy the videos. Thanks again. I'll catch you tomorrow. So back to the question and answer part of this. Like I said, one of my eagle-eyed viewers caught this one when I showed the controls for the Super Duty the other day. And well, let's just get right to it. I'll explain exactly what it is that's happening here. All right, there's the main flapper-on control tube, the mixer tube. That tube rotates back and forth that way and essentially makes the entire flapper-on assembly go up and down as you do it. But you still have the capability of having the aileron control over there on the two end pieces. So what's different about this one is this center bracket here that actually twists the torque tube, or actually twists the flapper-on control tube. On a standard Super Duty, it is electrically controlled with a linear actuator, and the actuator mounts off another tab kind of like that on the far right side. Actuator rod goes back through there, and the actuator is mounted behind that bulkhead, so it actuates from a switch. Well, if you back up here, in front of the seat, I have the manual control like my Super 701. I've loved this manual control. I love the feel of it. I love to be able to put it in and out, know exactly where it is and do it right now instead of, wait on the switch and maybe not even know exactly where it is or how far it is or that kind of stuff. That gives you a positive feedback. You know exactly where it is, how quick it's going at any given moment. So I loved it. I want this thing to have the same feel all the way around as my Super 701. So I'm sticking with the center control stick because I absolutely fell in love with it. I wouldn't change it if they gave me the dual stick option. I would not change it. I did not want to go with the electric flapper-on system, so I decided to get the manual system for the Super 701, at least the handle. And let me get the seat off and I'll show you exactly how this thing's going to work. So right here are a couple of my bigger modifications really. The seat is a very simple, didn't want to use the standard sliders, but I did want to still have some adjustability. So on these seats I went with a piano hinge system. All you have to do is pull the hinge pin on both sides. And it still gives it a little bit of adjustability because when you're on the ground, you can't do it in the air, but when you're on the ground, you can move the seat forward or backward, and each of these piano hinge teeth or fasteners, as you move it forward, it takes, I don't know, you have to move it like an inch at a time, but you can move the thing forward or back and then slide the pin back in. That gives you adjustability of being able to move the seat forward or backward on the ground. I love the piano hinge setup. It seems like it's going to be a good, robust, shouldn't cause any trouble, and it is super lightweight, so that's where we are with that. Now, back to the flap-around control system. This handle will have a push-pull rod that attaches to the bottom, and of course I'll have to make a hole in this bulkhead in front of the seat to be able to get it back through here. Back in under this seat, I have a bell crank set up, and it's actually there. It's not, I've got to get it cleaned up and painted. It's got a poly bushing on both sides to, or bearing, however you want to say it, on both sides to make sure everything, there's no slop and that kind of stuff. Anyway, there'll be a rod that goes from the stick back to the bottom of this bell crank. The bell crank goes over and into the tunnel, and you can see it down there. It goes back up and into another push-pull rod. It goes back through the tunnel, comes out back there, and then it ties into the flap-around control mixer. So the rotation on that flap-around control mixer will be utilized through the use of this hand control for it, manual. So that's one of my pretty major modifications. You've seen a couple of them there. One being the seat hinges. It takes a fair amount of time to get all that worked out. And the other one being this control system. And that did take a fair amount of time to get the angles right and all that kind of stuff. And the main reason I did that, well, not the main reason. The main reason I did it is because I wanted a manual flap-around control. But also, I think I mentioned the other day that rear control mixer for the flap-around mixer, I believe will be a similar setup to what I'll have to make work with this single seat 701. So anyway, there you know. Hope you guys have a good evening. I'll catch you tomorrow.